Stop getting excited. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy. Everyone tells you to feel excited, feel positive, feel high energy. But what if that's exactly why nothing is working for you? Think about it. Every time you get excited about something you want, it feels amazing for a moment. And then what happens? Doubt creeps in. You start overthinking. You lose control. And suddenly, that thing feels far away again. So here's the truth. Nobody tells you. Excitement is unstable. If you really want results, real, consistent results, you don't need to feel excited. You need to feel normal. In this video, I'm going to show you why feeling natural is the real secret, and how this one shift can quietly change everything in your life. Let's break something that most people never question. You think excitement is a good sign. You think when you feel that rush, that emotional high, it means you're getting closer to what you want. But in reality, excitement often does the exact opposite. Because excitement is not coming from having, it's coming from wanting. And there's a big difference. When you feel excited about something, you're mentally placing it above you. You're saying, this is special, this is rare, this is not my normal life. And the moment you label something as special or rare, you automatically separate yourself from it. You create a gap. Think about it in a simple way. When you see something you already own, your bed, your clothes, your daily routine, you don't feel excited. You don't get emotional about it. Why? Because your mind has already accepted it as normal. It belongs to you. There's no tension around it. Now compare that to something you deeply want. A dream lifestyle, a certain amount of money, a relationship. Suddenly, your emotions go up. Your energy spikes. You feel that rush of excitement. But hidden inside that excitement is a quiet message. This is not mine yet. That's the problem. Because your mind doesn't just listen to your words, it responds to your state. And excitement, as good as it feels, is unstable. It rises quickly, but it also falls just as fast. And when it falls, what comes next? Doubt, overthinking, impatience. You start asking questions like, when will this happen? Why isn't it here yet? Am I doing something wrong? And just like that, you move from feeling powerful to feeling uncertain. This cycle keeps repeating. You get excited. You feel good. Then you crash. Then you try again. And every time, it reinforces the idea that what you want is still out there somewhere, not here with you. That's why excitement can actually slow things down. It keeps reminding you that you're still waiting. Now here's the shift. The things that truly belong to you never feel exciting. They feel normal. Think about someone who is already living the life you want. They're not waking up every day feeling excited about it. They're calm. They're stable. They expect it. It's just part of who they are. And that's the state you need to move into. Not emotional highs, but quiet certainty. Because when something feels natural, your mind stops questioning it. There's no resistance, no inner conflict. You're not chasing it anymore, you're aligned with it. This is where most people go wrong. They keep chasing the feeling of excitement, thinking it means progress. But real progress is when the emotional charge disappears, when the thing you once wanted so badly starts to feel ordinary. That's when it sticks. That's when it becomes part of your identity. So instead of asking, how can I feel more excited about this? Start asking a different question. How can I make this feel normal to me? Because the moment it feels normal, the distance disappears. And what once felt far away starts moving closer without force. Not through intensity, but through familiarity. Let's simplify this in the most real way possible. You don't feel excited about what you already own. You feel normal. And that normal feeling is the strongest signal your mind understands. It's the signal of ownership. Think about your daily life. The place you live, the clothes you wear, the phone you use, none of these things create emotional spikes in you. You're not waking up thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I have this. No, it's quiet, it's stable, it's familiar. Why? Because your mind has already accepted it as yours. There's no resistance, no questioning, no chasing. Now compare that to something you want but don't have yet. Suddenly, your emotions are louder. You think about it more. You imagine it. You get excited. But deep inside, there's still a gap, because your mind hasn't accepted it as part of your normal life yet. This is where everything changes. Ownership is not created outside first. It's created inside. Before anything becomes physically real in your life, it has to feel natural to you mentally. It has to feel like, yeah, this is just who I am now. Not forced, not hyped, just accepted. And that's the state most people skip. They try to jump straight into excitement, motivation, or high energy. But those states don't last. They're temporary. They don't build identity. Natural feeling does. Because when something feels natural, your brain stops treating it as new or distant. It stops analyzing it. It stops resisting it. It simply integrates it into your sense of self. And once something becomes part of your identity, your actions start aligning with it automatically. You don't need to push yourself. You don't need constant motivation. You just behave in a way that matches who you believe you are. For example, someone who sees themselves as financially stable doesn't constantly try to act rich. They naturally make decisions that reflect stability. It's effortless for them because it's normal. That's the power of natural feeling. It removes effort. It removes friction. It removes the need to convince yourself. Now, here's the key shift you need to understand. You're not trying to get something. You're training your mind to accept something. Because the moment your mind accepts it as normal, everything else starts adjusting around it. Your thoughts change. Your reactions change. Your decisions change. And slowly, your external reality begins to reflect that internal acceptance. This is why forcing emotions doesn't work. You can't fake ownership. You can't pretend something is natural while feeling deep resistance inside. Your mind always knows the truth. So instead of forcing belief, you gently move into familiarity. You start asking yourself simple questions. If this was already mine, how would it feel? What would be different about my thinking? How would I carry myself daily? And then you don't overdo it. You don't exaggerate it. You keep it calm, subtle, real. Because real ownership doesn't feel dramatic. It feels obvious. It feels like, of course, this is mine. And when you reach that state, something powerful happens. You stop chasing. You stop doubting. You stop needing constant reassurance. Because internally, it's already settled. And once it's settled within you, it's only a matter of time before it shows up around you. That's the moment you shift from wanting to owning. Let's be honest for a second. The moment you say, I'm trying, you've already created distance. Because trying doesn't mean having. Trying means you're still reaching, still struggling, still not there. And your mind picks up on that instantly. You might say, I'm trying to feel confident. I'm trying to believe it's mine. I'm trying to stay positive. But hidden inside all of that is a quiet truth. You don't fully feel it yet. And that's exactly why trying doesn't work. Because trying is effort. And effort is a signal that something is not natural. Think about it. Do you try to be yourself? Do you try to use your own name? Do you try to recognize your own face in the mirror? No. It's automatic. It's effortless. It's natural. That's how real identity works. But when it comes to the things you want, you suddenly switch into effort mode. You start forcing thoughts, forcing emotions, forcing belief. And the more you force it, the more unnatural it feels. It's like trying to convince yourself of something your mind hasn't accepted yet. And your mind resists that. Not because it's against you, but because it knows the difference between real and force. This is where most people get stuck. They think if they try harder, push more, repeat more, they'll eventually break through. But what actually happens is the opposite. The more you try, the more aware you become that it's not real yet. You keep reminding yourself that you're still working on it, and that keeps the result out of reach. Trying creates tension, and tension creates resistance. Now, here's the shift you need to make. Instead of trying to feel something, you start allowing it to feel normal. There's a big difference. Trying is like holding something tightly, forcing it to stay. Natural feeling is like letting it settle quietly without pressure. One creates stress, the other creates acceptance. You don't need to push yourself into a new state. You need to ease into it, because real change doesn't come from intensity. It comes from familiarity. Let's say you want to feel confident. If you try to be confident, you'll overthink every move. You'll monitor yourself, you'll question if you're doing it right, and that pressure will make you feel even more unnatural. But if you shift into a simple question like, what would confidence feel like if it was already normal for me? Something changes. Your mind relaxes. You stop performing. You stop forcing, and you start experiencing a softer, more real version of that state. That's the key. You're not acting. You're becoming. And becoming is always quiet. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't need effort. It feels like slipping into something that already fits you. This is why forcing emotions never lasts. You might feel good for a moment. You might convince yourself temporarily. But deep down, there's still resistance. And that resistance eventually pulls you back. But when something becomes natural, there's no force holding it in place. It stays on its own. So stop trying so hard. Stop forcing yourself into states that don't feel real. Instead, move gently. Shift your focus from effort to familiarity, from forcing to allowing. Because the moment you stop trying is the moment things start becoming real. Most people are addicted to intensity. They think if they feel something strongly enough, if the emotion is powerful enough, it must be working. So they chase those highs, motivation videos, sudden bursts of confidence, moments where everything feels possible. And for a short time, it feels amazing, but then it fades. And that's the problem. Intensity doesn't last. It spikes and then it drops. Every single time. And when it drops, you don't just go back to normal, you often go lower. You feel confused. You feel like you lost something. You start questioning everything again. So you chase the next high. And the cycle continues. This is why so many people stay stuck. Not because they're not trying, but because they're relying on unstable states to create stable results. It doesn't work like that. Because real change is not built on emotional peaks. It's built on consistency. Think about anything that lasts in life, your habits, your personality, your identity. None of it was created in one intense moment. It was built over time, through repetition, through steady states that didn't feel dramatic, but stayed. That's what stability does. It may not feel exciting, but it sticks. Let's take a simple example. If you go to the gym one day with extreme motivation, push yourself to the limit, feel amazing, and then don't go back for a week, nothing really changes. But if you go consistently, even on days you don't feel like it, even when it feels normal, even when there's no excitement, that's when real transformation happens. Why? Because stability creates patterns, and patterns create identity. The same applies to your mindset. If you only feel aligned when you're excited, you're not actually stable. You're depending on temporary emotions to carry you. And the moment those emotions disappear, everything collapses. But when your state becomes calm, steady, and natural, something powerful happens. You stop reacting. You stop needing proof. You stop chasing feelings. And you start living from a place that doesn't move easily. That's where real power is. Because a stable mind doesn't get shaken by small changes. It doesn't rise and fall with every situation. It stays grounded. And from that grounded state, your actions become consistent. Your decisions become clearer. Your energy becomes focused. You don't waste time going up and down emotionally. You stay centered. This is why intensity can actually slow you down. It feels productive. It feels like progress. But it's often just noise. Real progress is quiet. It doesn't need to feel big. It just needs to stay. So instead of asking, how can I feel more motivated? Or how can I get that feeling back? Ask a better question. How can I make this state stable? How can I make this feel normal every day? Because when something becomes stable, you don't have to think about it anymore. It becomes part of you, and once it's part of you, it doesn't disappear. That's when results start showing up in a real, lasting way. Not because you pushed harder, not because you felt more, but because you stayed consistent. So let others chase intensity. You focus on stability, because in the long run, stability always wins. This is one of the biggest shifts you'll ever make. Most people spend their entire lives living for what they want. They wake up thinking about it. They work toward it. They wait for it. Everything they do is based on the idea that one day things will change. That happiness, success, confidence, it's all somewhere in the future. And that keeps them stuck. Because when you live for something, you're constantly reminding yourself that you don't have it yet. Every action becomes a form of waiting. Every thought carries a subtle message. Not yet, not yet, not yet. And your mind accepts that. It starts seeing your desire as something distant, something separate from you, something you're chasing instead of something you already are. That's why it feels like a struggle. Now, here's the shift that changes everything. You stop living for it, and you start living from it. That means you don't wait for the result to show up before you feel a certain way. You begin with the feeling first. You start thinking from the version of you who already has it. You start making decisions from that place. You start carrying yourself like it's already part of your reality. Not in a fake or forced way, but in a calm, natural way. Let's make this real. If you're living for success, you're constantly asking, what do I need to do to become successful? There's effort, there's pressure, there's doubt. But if you start living from success, your question changes to, what would I naturally do if I was already successful? And that question shifts everything. Your focus changes. Your behavior changes. Even your energy changes. Because now you're not chasing an identity. You're expressing it. This is where most people get confused. They think living from it means pretending or acting like something you're not. But it's not about acting. It's about aligning. It's about quietly stepping into a state where your inner world matches the outcome you want. No exaggeration. No overthinking. Just a simple, grounded shift. For example, if you want confidence, living for confidence means you're waiting for a moment where you finally feel strong enough. But living from confidence means you carry a calm sense of self-trust right now, even in small actions. You speak a little more clearly. You hesitate a little less. You stop second-guessing every move. And over time, that becomes your new normal. That's how identity changes. Not through one big moment, but through repeated alignment. And here's the powerful part. When you live from something consistently, your external world starts catching up. Because your actions are no longer random. They're coming from a stable identity. And identity drives results. You don't need to force outcomes. You don't need to chase opportunities. You become the kind of person those things naturally come to. That's the difference. Living for something keeps you in the future. Living from it brings it into your present. And once it's in your present, it's no longer a dream. It's your reality in progress. So stop waiting. Stop chasing. And start asking yourself one simple question every day. Am I living for this or from it? Because the moment you shift that, everything else begins to follow. Most people are waiting for a big moment, a breakthrough, a sign, something dramatic that tells them, now it's working. They expect fireworks. They expect a sudden rush of certainty. They expect everything to feel different overnight. But real change doesn't happen like that. It's quiet. So quiet